pirates weren't filthy because they were lazy. They were filthy on purpose. And that crusty, salt-stained coat they never took off, it wasn't clothing. It was survival equipment. What these sea criminals knew about staying alive would make modern hygiene experts uncomfortable. A pirate ship never slept. Ever. While half the crew collapsed into hammocks, the other half worked the deck. Watch schedules rotated around the clock, which meant any sailor could be yanked from sleep and thrown into action within seconds. No warning, no time to prepare. So pirates slept fully dressed, boots on, belt fastened, weapons within arm's reach. Here's the thing about those sleeping quarters, though. Hammocks were stacked just 14 inches apart. That's about the width of a laptop screen. Now try getting dressed in that space while the guy above you snores and the guy below you kicks. Not happening. But the real reason? Storms. A sudden squall could capsize an unprepared ship in under 4 minutes. I've been caught in bad weather on a small boat once. Trust me, fumbling with buttons while the world tilts sideways isn't exactly ideal. For pirates, being fully clothed meant you could grab a rope and fight the chaos immediately. Being half naked meant you drowned while tangled in your own pants. Pretty straightforward choice, right? Then there's the sleep schedule itself. Pirates caught maybe 4 hours of rest at a time. Maximum. That's it. Would you bother changing into pajamas for a 4-hour nap? Didn't think so. The effort simply wasn't worth the tiny amount of sleep they'd get. And privacy? Forget it completely. The average pirate ship crammed 80 men into space, originally designed for 20. That's like stuffing your entire extended family into a 2-bedroom apartment. Except everyone smells worse and carries knives. Even if someone wanted to change clothes, where exactly would they do it? The answer is nowhere. There wasn't a single corner of that ship where a man could strip down without an audience. Plus, those hammocks swayed violently in rough seas. A dressed sailor could grip the ropes, swing his legs out, and hit the deck running. An undressed one? He'd still be untangling himself from fabric when the ship went under. But staying dressed was only half the survival equation, because there's another resource pirates guarded more carefully than gold itself. Fresh water. That's what kept pirates alive. Not gold, not rum, water. A typical voyage stretched 3 to 6 months across open ocean. But here's the math that'll make you cringe. Ships carried only enough fresh water for about half a gallon per person daily. That's less than what your toilet uses in a single flush. Using that water for bathing, you might as well set money on fire. Every single drop was rationed like it was liquid gold. Actually, scratch that, it was worth more than gold. You can't drink a gold coin when you're dying of thirst 200 miles from the nearest island. The storage system made things even worse. Wooden barrels were the only option, and wood isn't exactly sterile. Within a few weeks, that water turned green, slimy. Sometimes you could actually see things growing in it. Pirates drank it anyway because the alternative was death. And the weird part is, stealing an extra cup was punishable by marooning. That's right. 1 cup of water could get you dumped on a deserted island with nothing but a pistol and a single bullet. Dramatic? Sure, but when 80 men share supplies that might need to last months longer than planned, one thief could doom everyone. Some crews got clever. They'd stretch canvas tarps across the deck during rainstorms, funneling whatever fell from the sky into collection barrels. Free water from heaven. Problem solved, right? Wrong. That rainwater got drunk immediately. Caribbean heat made men sweat constantly, which meant dehydration was a daily battle. Nobody saved rain for washing when their lips were cracked and their tongues felt like sandpaper. I've been thirsty before. Really thirsty. After a long hike, you know that feeling where water becomes the only thing you can think about? Now multiply that by months. In tropical heat. While doing backbreaking labor. Bathing wasn't just impractical, it was unthinkable. But let's say some stubborn pirate decided he absolutely needed to get clean. The ocean was right there after all. Unlimited water surrounding the ship. That option came with its own nightmare. The ocean was right there. Millions of gallons surrounding the ship. Free and unlimited. So why not just jump in? Here's what salt water actually does to human skin. When it dries, it leaves behind tiny crystals. Not soft, harmless little specks. Sharp microscopic shards that dig into every crease and fold of your body. Now imagine doing manual labor. Pulling ropes, climbing rigging, swabbing decks. Those crystals grind against your skin like sandpaper. made by someone who really hates you. Within days, pirates who bathed in seawater developed raw patches under their arms, between their thighs, around their necks, anywhere skin touched skin or fabric touched skin. And those raw patches, they didn't heal. Tropical humidity is basically a petri dish for bacteria. Open sores plus warm, moist air equals infection. Pirates called them sea boils, nasty, pus-filled lesions that spread across the body and brought fevers that could kill a man faster than any cannonball. But let's say you were stubborn, really stubborn. You kept rinsing in salt water anyway. Your clothes became weapons against you. Salt-soaked fabric dries stiff, cardboard stiff. Every movement becomes a fight against your own shirt. And the friction gets worse, not better. More raw skin, more boils, more misery. I've worn a shirt that dried wrong after getting caught in rain once. Uncomfortable for maybe an hour. Now multiply that by months. In clothes, you literally cannot change because they're all you own. Then there's the hair situation. Salt water turns hair into rope. Not a cute metaphor. Actual rope-like tangles that no comb could fix. This is why so many pirates shave their heads completely or wrap bandanas tight enough to hide the disaster underneath. Here's the twist nobody expects. Staying dirty actually helped. Human skin produces natural oils. Gross oils, sure, but those oils created a thin protective barrier against saltwater spray during storms. Dirty pirates had fewer skin problems than the rare clean ones. The filth was functional, but clothes weren't just about comfort or cleanliness. For pirates, what you wore was everything you owned. And I mean everything. A pirate's coat wasn't fashion. It was a portable bank vault. Coins got sewn directly into the hems. Small knives hidden in secret pockets. Navigation notes folded into the lining. Some pirates even stitched gold teeth from victims into their jacket seams. Taking off your coat meant leaving your entire life savings unguarded in a floating wooden box, surrounded by 80 men who became pirates specifically because they weren't big on respecting other people's property. See the problem? Theft among crewmates was absolutely constant. Pirates had honor codes, sure. They also had gambling debts and rum addictions. A sleeping man without his coat was basically a donation box with legs, but protection went beyond just valuables. That thick canvas jacket stopped rope burns cold, the leather vest underneath, deflected splinters that shot off decks during cannon fire. Even those ridiculous oversized cuffs had purpose. They protected wrists during sword fights. I once wore a heavy work jacket in summer because I was too lazy to take it off. Miserable experience. Now, imagine choosing that discomfort because the alternative was bleeding from your arms every single day. Here's something movies never show. Boots stayed on constantly. Not because pirates loved footwear, because barefoot sailors on wet wooden decks didn't last long. Broken toes from sliding cargo. Puncture wounds from exposed nails. Splinters the size of pencils. And any foot wound in that era, basically a death sentence. Infection set in within days. No antibiotics existed. Surgeons just amputated and hoped for the best. The math was simple. Uncomfortable feet versus no feet at all. Then there's the cost factor nobody mentions. A single decent coat represented 6 months of wages for most sailors. 6 months. That's half a year of back-breaking work hanging on your shoulders. Damaging it was unthinkable. Losing it was catastrophic. So pirates wore their coats during meals, during sleep, during everything. Layered clothing also solved a temperature problem nobody talks about. Caribbean days hit 90 degrees. Caribbean nights dropped to 60. Removing layers during heat, then adding them during cold watches made more sense than owning multiple outfits. But even with clothes handled, there was still one massive problem: actually keeping them clean. Real soap needed animal fat and lye. Both ingredients spoiled fast in tropical heat. Both took up valuable cargo space, so ships just didn't carry any. No soap, no detergent, nothing. My grandmother used to say cleanliness was next to godliness. Pirates were next to nothing resembling clean. And honestly, they had good reasons. Here's the thing about 17th century fabric. Cotton and linen were loosely woven. Not like modern clothes that survive hundreds of wash cycles. These fabrics fell apart after maybe 10 proper washes. Cleaning your shirt literally destroyed your shirt. That's not an exaggeration either. So what did pirates do when clothes got truly disgusting? They beat them against rocks at port. Sounds effective until you realize worn fabric tore like wet paper. One aggressive scrubbing session could turn pants into shorts real fast. The ship's slop chest sold replacement clothes at absolutely criminal markup prices. We're talking 3 times the normal cost. Captains knew sailors had no other options. Basic economics meets ocean monopoly. Most pirates just wore the same outfit until threads gave up entirely. But wait, laundry alternatives existed, right? Sort of. Urine was sometimes used for stubborn stains. Ammonia cuts through grease surprisingly well. Your ancestors definitely knew this trick. Problem was obvious, though. You're removing one smell by adding another arguably worse smell. Progress? Then there's the raiding solution. Why wash clothes when you could steal fresh ones from merchant ships? Pirates literally treated wardrobes as disposable. Wear something until it rotted. Raid a ship. Grab new stuff. Repeat. This explains why pirates often wore bizarre, mismatched outfits. That silk shirt came from a Spanish trader, those wool pants from an English merchant, the fancy hat from some unlucky nobleman. Fashion through theft. Very practical, very pirate. I've kept gym clothes in my locker longer than I should admit. Maybe a week, 2 weeks, maximum. These men wore the same salt-crusted, sweat-soaked outfit for months, sometimes the entire voyage. Their clothes basically became a second skin, literally bonded to them through accumulated grime. But even if pirates somehow managed clean clothes and fresh water, there was something else making hygiene completely pointless anyway. Here's the thing about pirate hygiene that nobody mentions. Even if you somehow got clean, you wouldn't stay that way for more than an hour. Why? Because the ship itself was crawling with parasites. Every single plank, every hammock, every rope. Infested. Lice weren't just common on pirate ships, they were universal. Fleas jumped from man to man like tiny acrobats at a circus nobody bought tickets to. Scabies mites burrowed into skin and laid eggs regardless of how recently you'd scrubbed yourself raw. These creatures lived in the wood. They bred in the bedding. Washing your body accomplished exactly nothing when your sleeping quarters remained a 5-star resort for insects. My grandfather used to say fighting nature was like arguing with the tide. Pirates learned this lesson the hard way, but parasites were just the appetizer. Scurvy hit up to 50% of crews on longer voyages. Your gums bled constantly, teeth loosened in their sockets, old wounds reopened for no reason. When you're watching your own body fall apart from the inside, personal grooming seems pretty low priority. Then there's dysentery. That swept through ships like wildfire because contaminated food and water caused it. Clean sailors, dirty sailors. Didn't matter. Everyone got equally sick. Makes sense, right? And the diseases that actually killed thousands of Caribbean pirates? Yellow fever, malaria, mosquitoes spread those. You could bathe in champagne every morning and still die from one infected bug bite. Here's where it gets genuinely weird, though. Ship doctors of that era believed bathing was dangerous. Seriously. They thought washing opened your skin pores to something called bad air, which supposedly caused disease. Medical professionals actively told sailors that staying filthy was healthier. We laugh now, but these men trusted their doctors. Meanwhile, rats owned the ship. They ran through sleeping quarters constantly. Their droppings contaminated everything. You could scrub yourself until your skin peeled off and still sleep 6 inches from rat feces every night. Personal cleanliness in that environment was like organizing deck chairs on a sinking ship. Pointless effort against overwhelming odds. So pirates stopped trying. And honestly, that decision made them more dangerous than anyone expected. Here's where being filthy actually saved lives. When enemy sails appeared on the horizon, pirates had roughly 20 minutes. That's it. 20 minutes from, is that a ship? To cannons firing and men dying. You know what takes longer than 20 minutes? Getting dressed while half asleep in a swaying hammock stacked 14 inches from the guy above you. So pirates never undressed. Period. A fully clothed pirate grabbed his cutlass and reached the deck in 30 seconds flat. The guy who decided to sleep comfortably in his undergarments, he's still hopping on one foot trying to find his left boot when the first cannonball tears through the hull. My father served in the merchant navy. He always said the fastest man wins, not the strongest. Pirates understood this instinctively, but speed wasn't just about reaching the deck. Boarding enemy ships required jumping across open water between vessels, sometimes gaps of 6 feet or more. with weapons in hand, while both ships rocked violently. Now picture doing that with your pants half buttoned. One wrong step, and you're swimming with sharks who haven't eaten in a week. Actually, scratch swimming, drowning. Nobody swam with a cutlass in one hand and a pistol in the other. Here's something that surprised me while researching this. Pirates didn't just keep clothes on. They kept weapons on. In bed, while sleeping. Pistols stayed tucked in belts. Cutlasses hung within arm's reach. Some men literally wrapped rope around their knife handles and tied them to their wrists overnight. Paranoid? Maybe. Smart? Absolutely. Naval records from captured pirate ships describe something fascinating. Dead pirates were found wearing exactly what they'd slept in. No discarded nightclothes anywhere. No evidence anyone ever changed for bed. This wasn't myth or exaggeration. Documented fact. And then there's Blackbeard. This maniac slept with lit, slow-burning fuses woven into his beard and hat. Actual fire. On his face. While unconscious. Compared to that level of commitment, keeping your boots on seems almost reasonable. The constant battle readiness created something unexpected, though. It turned pirates into psychological weapons, and that reputation became more valuable than any cannon. Here's where things get genuinely disgusting and weirdly brilliant. Ships could be smelled before they were seen. Experienced sailors claimed they detected pirate vessels from half a mile away. Downwind, that's not exaggeration. That's testimony from naval officers who had no reason to lie. 80 unwashed men, tropical heat, months without bathing. The mathematics of stench are brutal. But here's what nobody expected. Pirates turned that smell into a weapon. When merchant ships spotted the Jolly Roger, they knew what was coming. Not just violence, an assault on every sense. The reputation preceded the reality, and honestly, the reality was worse. Fresh captives brought aboard pirate vessels couldn't function. Documented accounts describe prisoners unable to eat for days. The smell triggered constant nausea. Some men vomited until they had nothing left. Meanwhile, pirates felt nothing. Olfactory fatigue. Your nose stops registering constant smells within about 3 days. So pirates became completely immune to their own stench, while newcomers were genuinely incapacitated by it. My grandfather worked in a fish processing plant for 40 years. Said he stopped smelling fish after his first week. Same principle, different consequences, and the mixture on pirate ships was something special. Sweat, tar, gunpowder residue, rotting food scraps, bilge water that had been festering for months. One captured merchant captain described it as hell's perfume. I'd laugh if it wasn't so accurate. Then there's the psychological angle. Pirates wanted that terrifying reputation. They cultivated it deliberately. Looking and smelling like demons from the deep made merchant crews surrender without fighting. Why risk your life against men who seemed barely human? Smart business, really. A ship that surrendered intact meant more loot, fewer casualties, and faster turnaround. The filth wasn't just laziness or necessity anymore. It became marketing. Terrifying, effective marketing. Naval commanders wrote frustrated reports about this phenomenon. Merchant captains gave up valuable cargo to avoid close contact with crews that looked and smelled like walking corpses. The pirates knew exactly what they were doing every unwashed day, every matted beard, every layer of accumulated grime. All of it served a purpose beyond survival.